Councillors, welcome to the council meeting of Wednesday, February the 2nd, and also welcome the staff as well. March. Thank you. And guests we have with us, members of the public and all those listening in at home. I'll call for apologies. Being none, all here. So like, no need to move anything there. Extraordinary business. I know of none. Declarations of interest. Councillor Latham.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 6, requesting the renaming of Mill Road and Ross Road. I'm still going to express my opinion, but council needs to know that the applicants and I are related.
Thank you. And just before we go on to the public forum, I'll just make a comment that COVID is well and truly in the district now, as we all know, and the cases today were 141 new cases, obviously yesterday's, but reported today, giving a total of 577 in the community, which sounds like a big number, but in reality it's less than 2% of our population, but there will be more. We've had the chance to be vaccinated and boosted, which is the best defence against the COVID. The hospitals are ready for if people need hospital treatment, so yeah, we're well prepared. The next 6 weeks is going to be the crucial weeks for COVID throughout the whole country. I think we need to get over the COVID and get the borders opened up and try and get back to some normality, which we've been waiting for 2 years. But we've done what we've done. Just also like to mention the situation that's in Ukraine, Russia situation, not good. Yeah, hopefully they get that resolved sooner rather than later and have a successful outcome to it. So I know the world is thinking that Russia's doing the wrong thing, and I think we would probably agree too. So hopefully they'll see sense and make that a better situation than it is at the moment. Councillor Wilson, declarations of interest, was it?
Yeah, just I don't believe I have a conflict of interest, but I do have family members who've bought a section under item 7, the naming of Westview Drive.
I don't think that's...
I don't believe I am, but I'm just telling everyone, in case somebody thought I did.
That's fine. Just moving on to acknowledgement of former councillor Jack Ross, who's passed away last month. We'll take a moment's silence for Councillor Jack Ross. He was elected to the Ashburton District Council from 1998 to 2001. We have a moment's silence now, please. Thank you very much. Next is the public forum, and we welcome Ellen Totty. Welcome, Ellen. And you'd like to take 5 minutes to speak, and then councillors can, up to 5 minutes to speak, and councillors can ask questions, and it's around the Mount Somers Walkway Society. Thank you, Ellen. That's it, you've got it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to present this today, and I'm here today on behalf of the Mount Somers Walkway Society. I have an apology from our President, Charles Ross, who couldn't make it today. We're here because of the reluctance of the Department of Conservation to do its job, and the sheer determination of Charles Ross to make another track. If it wasn't for Charles, then I wouldn't be sitting here today. My aim today is threefold. I want to thank the council very much for the assistance that they've given to the project. I want to give you an update on the progress, and I want to ask for some more money. Now, the financial assistance that we're looking at, we have put an application in for a community project grant. We understand there could be some money in the community discretionary grant fund. And we're also looking at the possibility of the tourism infrastructure fund. But just to bring you up to date, and I realise that you have already had some information.
Yes, we have.
2020 we started the project, and by January 2022 we managed to get an easement concession from the Department of Conservation. there was a real battle to get that far. They weren't really keen on us rebuilding a track. Ashburton Council were very good in that they decided that building the track was a permitted activity. They've allowed us to put a short section of the track on an unformed road, and they've given us an exemption for building purposes, so thank you very much for that. We started the project looking at about 300,000. We're now looking at about 470, and that's mainly due to the increased cost of building the bridges. They've got a bit more complicated and they've got a lot more expensive. In the past 120 years that people have been walking up to the falls, there's been thousands of Ashburtonians that have enjoyed that walk, and so we're determined to make it available again to people. The Mount Somers Walkway Society was formed back in 1983, and since that time they've been pretty busy. Now, I take no credit for this at all, because I wasn't involved in building all the various tracks that they have around the mountain. I used to attend their meetings as a councillor, and I rejoined the group a couple of years ago to try and help them with this project. They also do an awful lot of work that no one else seems to want to do, and that is controlling gorse and broom out the back in the high country. And I think they do a wonderful job out there. Once again, I don't take any credit for that. Estimated volunteer hours they do, about 1,400 hours. A lot of them are similar age to us, perhaps a little older than the average age around the council, but they still manage to get out there with their knapsack sprayer on their back and do the work. It's about 50% of the work that they do is on track, and the other 50 is on weeds. And they're funded for that by application for grants and fundraising. I thank the council for the $5,000 that we got in 2020 from the Community Projects Grant. That money has been spent, and we've applied for some more money this year. We just have a little problem with the criteria, and that the project's meant to start after the 1st of July. So I'm not really sure when our project started. Like, we started planning 2 years ago. We've collected the steel that we need. Well, we should have it all by tomorrow. We'll start building the bridges, but I'm not sure when we'll start building the track. So your guess is as good as mine actually when the project starts. We can't sit around. We can't wait till the 1st of July to start constructing the bridges. There's quite a long lead-in time. The construction, we then need to transport them to Christchurch, and about each bridge in about 5 sections. They have to be double-dipped, galvanised, and then carted back to Staveley, and then we have to get a helicopter in to lift them in place. I've given you a little bit of history of how the track to the falls was formed and why we have a scenic reserve up there, so I won't go into that. Other than to say that when the Ashburton County Council was responsible for the scenic reserve, they didn't really do a lot. And I'm just hoping that this district council will be a little bit more proactive and generous as far as the track up there at the moment. And just for Councillor Wilson's benefit, I actually helped build the council road extension of Flynn's Road. I was only 4 at the time, so I don't know whether you can beat that one.
Thank you, Alan.
Right, I'll answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thanks very much for your presentation. Councillors, any questions of Alan from the Walkway Society? Is it Councillor Cameron?
Thank you for your presentation. Why are the Department of Conservation not interested in another track up there?
Their reason was funding. There's second, well, it's related to funding as well. They have a rather unusual way of funding depreciation. If they build an asset like that, their local branch and section in Geraldine has to have the cash in its budget put aside for depreciation, goes into another fund, and so they have a very limited budget to start with, and if they were to have to fund the depreciation on a new asset like that, they'd have very limited funds for doing anything else. So it's really the way that DOC is organised and the lack of funding.
Do they like ask how many people, because there's a hell of a lot of people use that area up there, do they count numbers or ask for that information, or is it totally only funding based?
It was just the funding. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Afternoon, Alan. Have you been able to try other charitable organisations like Mid-South Canterbury Trust or Lion Foundation or anything like that? Have you tried any of those?
Yeah, we've had an excellent response from Mid-South Canterbury and the Lion Foundation. We still have some grant applications into some of the other organisations. We were very disappointed we missed out on lotto funding, which we felt we qualified for, but for some reason we were denied. So we still have funding applications in place.
A supplementary, are you looking for grant size or you're looking for a substantial size, sort of, because you're talking big numbers?
Well, I realise that the council fund is not a large fund, but every little bit helps. We've gone for the larger funding applications already, and we've got some quite sizable. In the background, we have a private donor who is expected to be very generous, so that will help us quite a lot too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillors, any other questions? Councillor Rawlinson.
Thank you, Alan, for your report. My question is around your request in here is, I take it the bigger issue is not as much the money under the local community funding, but the ability to know about it or access it sooner than the 1st of July. Have I interpreted that correctly?
Not so much the access, it's just to be eligible to qualify for it, because one of the criteria says that the project is not allowed to start before the 1st of July. And our project, depending on how you judge it, will have started before the 1st of July.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you'd be quite amenable to the funds coming after the 1st of July.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. If approved. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, and thank you for your report. Just a comment, have you thought about breaking the project down into time points as to when you need the money, and breaking it down into sections so that if you've got a section starting after the 1st of July, then you would fit in to the criteria for funding?
Yes, well, that's certainly a possibility. If by the time we get the bridges built, and we've run out of a window of opportunity to actually get in and build the track before the winter, then it's going to be next spring to build the track. So that section would come in after the 1st of July. Yeah.
Last question, Councillor Mackay.
Good afternoon, Mr Mayor, councillors, Mr Doddy. The question I have is, what benefit, if any, would additional monies from this council be to the whole of the district?
Oh, fantastic difference, yeah. Because it's a wonderful asset for the whole district, so, you know, anything that this council can do to help is very much appreciated and will be appreciated by the public of Ashburton.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. We can't make a decision here today, but you've highlighted the issue for us, which is great. I'll ask the Chief Executive if he can get a report prepared for us at the immediate future to progress the matter. So,
thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks, Alan. So Hamish, you can prepare a report for us for some council meeting in the future?
Yes, will do.
Great, thanks. Move on to item number 4, councillors, confirmation of the minutes. Someone move that the minutes of the February 16th council meeting be taken as read and confirmed. Councillor Brown, Councillor McMillan. Actually, before I do that, was there any alterations or additions? Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. With there being none, I have a move in a second. I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Thank you. Next item is number 5. Biodiversity Advisory Group. Someone like to move, second, that the minutes of the 1st of February Biodiversity Advisory Group meeting be received. Councillor Lovett, Councillor Rawlinson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Item number 6.
Can I ask a question?
Fine,
Sorry,
please,
excuse me. Just a question on the Biodiversity Advisory Group. Can those members join in via Zoom? Or just wondering, there seems like there's a lot of apologies at that meeting, and I just wondered if they could join in via Zoom or
policy allows it, but
Yes, they can. In fact, I noticed that there were some attendees by Teams for that particular meeting, so everyone is free to join virtually if they prefer.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councillor Latham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question. What is the Mid-Canterbury Catchment Collective? Or who or what is the Mid-Canterbury Catchment Collective?
Hamish.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it's a, I've got a better definition tucked away in this computer, but it is a group of people examining water catchment issues in the Mid-Canterbury area. And they have employed or engaged Ange Krishney to act as an administrator coordinator role, and they're currently looking to understand better where the gaps in information are around the water catchment in this area. We have nominated Richard Fitzgerald to be our initial contact on the group of assessing gaps and providing information in his agricultural portfolio advisor role. So I can get some further information out. I understand my definition is a little vague, but I have been made aware of it just in the last couple of days, and I have got some further information I can share.
So if I may ask a supplementary, what are they likely to be doing that's not already being done?
Right, let me
I can
dive into my...
fill on that. They're collecting information mainly up around the foothills, where groundwater information on nitrates, etc. All the other parts of Canterbury are covered by the irrigation schemes, or BCI, Ashburton, Lyndhurst, MHV, etc. And down below they've got the Acton scheme. Here's a group of mainly farmers, the lifestyle block farmers, who are not represented by anyone. So they've put their thinking caps on and come up with this collective, so and gaining information for up there, which is peculiar to them. They're not irrigators, so they missed the other pieces.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Anything further? Or
the explanation that I was struggling to recall from my mind was that they've called an initial meeting, and the objective of that initial meeting is to find out where all the water quantity and quality records for the Mid-Canterbury catchment are held. It is our intention to then collate this data, either actual or via links, so it can be easily referenced. The Mid-Canterbury Catchment Collective is committed to keeping this site updated as new material comes to hand. And while Ange is acting in that administrative type role, it's a science-led program, and Mr. Phil Everest is leading the work from the scientific perspective.
Councillor Mackay.
Just on that, if that is the case, information is being sought, how many truckloads of information will arrive from Christchurch to Canterbury Regional Council, and how many will arrive from the Old South Canterbury Catchment Board? I literally asked truckloads because I have an idea of how much information is available.
I can't answer that, I'm sorry.
I think an earthquake in 2011 put pay to a lot of the records in Christchurch.
No, they were all on microfilm, Mr Mayor.
Okay, good.
I will send councillors a descriptor of the collective. I found an attachment to that email which gives a little more information, so I'll forward that to you all.
Good. Item number 6, request for renaming of roads Mill Road and Ross Road. Ian and Jane. Ian, have you got a copy of the map for, just put on the screen, if you've got that there?
Yeah, just if you just bear with us a second, I'll try and get it up on the screen.
We do have a map in our documents, but it's quite small. Maps. Let's just wait for that to happen. Then we'll go to question. Before we go to you, Angus, we'll get the map up and we'll see if there's anything further to add to the report, and then we can go to questions. I assume yours is a question, Angus.
I have a number.
Number, great. No. Yeah.
We have some questions at the same time.
Yeah.
This might be us. Hopefully it should work.
It's possibly coming up shortly. There we go.
Apologies to all present of the quality of this. It was very much a last minute thing taken from the map on the wall of my office. So
it's a bit better map than we've got in their documents, but that's fine.
So just for reference, the Ashburton River runs down this part here. That's an anomaly. Don't worry about that. So that should give you a little bit of a reference point where we were looking at.
Yep. So anything further to add to your report you've got here at the moment, Ian? Do you want to add anything, or can we go to questions? Councillors, we can go to questions. Councillor Mackay.
The first question I have, Mr Mayor, is, I presume it's to the Chief Executive, because he employs all staff. What is the red circle on map figure 20, on figure 2 of existing Mill Road on page 16 represent?
I'm sure either Ian or Jane can answer that.
It's in the agenda we were sent.
Yep.
That's why I asked the question.
Mr Mayor, I can't get the map up again because of, actually I might be able to, if I click on this. Yes, it appears that what happens sometimes through the vagaries of Microsoft Word, when you attach and you work with manipulation of photos and adding various things to it, sometimes when it's uploaded into different formats, things go a little bit awry. So that I can presume what the council is talking about is this circle here. That should be where the blue line is. So my apologies to councillors for that.
Okay. Additional question, Mr Mayor, if I may, to councillors or to the Chief Executive. If the red circle is a vagary of computer world, I'll take that on the nose. The officer pointed out that it's the blue line parallel with the Ashburton River. So where in relation to that blue line on our map and his map does the proposed new Ross Road fit? Because it's not, I can't work it out because I actually drove the thing in the weekend. The line there is parallel with the Ashburton River. Is that the road the officer thinks in question, or is it another road to be renamed? The new Ross Road.
If you go back to the previous map you had up there, Ian.
Oh, sorry. So this was taken through the mayor, this was taken through from the GIS records, and just a summary of that. So what I can do is on here, if I go to, for example, was it Ross Road that council was asking?
The new proposed Ross Road.
Mill Road.
Oh, Mill Road.
I think what the council might be getting at is Mill Road's not dead straight, it has a right angle bend in it.
Oh, I'm not getting at anything, Mr Mayor. All I'm saying is the information provided is not correct.
That's also Mill Road, yeah.
Well, Mill Road, yeah, road name, yes, Mill Road.
So what's that
But
road
then this
called?
is also Mill Road.
Yeah.
On this point.
I think that's the road that's in question here.
Oh, it's difficult to see from here. Can we sharpen it up a bit, please?
Here we are. So I think the applicant is not asking for all of Mill Road to be renamed, only one part of it, which is now highlighted.
Jackson.
Is that Jackson's Road? Is it? Well,
So
I'll refer back to
oh.
Keep going, miles away. Right at the bottom now.
yeah, that's
Oh, that bit.
that bit.
Yeah.
Where your cursor is now, that's the Mill Road I think the applicant's talking about.
Sorry, I'm just struggling to find the parcel for it. Sorry, not gonna help me with that.
Another question, Angus?
I think I got my point across. The other question is, if you go to our policy, which was linked in the agenda, and you go to page 3 of the policy, and you go to name changing, and it says there, council can initiate a change of name in exceptional circumstances. These include duplication, confusion, ambiguity, changes to the road layout system, etc., etc. 3.2 and also 3.1. My question has to ask why the officer is perturbed that Charles Ross Road is too close to Ross Road, when in Ashburton we have Trevors Road, Lismore, Carew, Trevors Road, Ashburton, Elgin, Jackson's Road, Lagmore, Adam Jackson's Road, Hines, Jackson Street, Methven, Carter's Terrace, Ashburton, Carter's Road, Ashburton. Would the officer like to comment, please?
Through you, Mayor Brown, there are a number of historical occurrences of conflicting names throughout the district. We've never proposed to go in and change all of them, but certainly they exist. There's not a lot we can do about it unless you decided you wanted to go through the whole lot and change the ones that are duplicates or could cause confusion.
Thank you. Councillor Mackay?
I have many more, but I'll let other councillors have a crack.
Okay. Councillor Wilson?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This is what happens when people make decisions that don't know what they're talking about. When you've lived in the district all your life, you knew exactly what the applicants were applying for. And to say all Mill Road, following up what Councillor Mackay said, that map you gave us was completely incorrect. It's just that little wee piece at the bottom of Mill Road that was going to be changed to Ross Road. The rest of Mill Road was going to stay at Mill Road. And if you haven't lived in this district, you don't realise the significance of where people live and the significance of roads that their families have got as their heritage. I totally oppose your recommendation. I think Lim made the report that are against it on your recommendation, It's not management's decision. I think it is governance decision. So I'm totally opposed to the motion. I think we should approve it.
Well, it is governance decision as far as we can decide, and we'll do that shortly after we've had the questions about living in the district for a long time. Well, some of us have the privilege of that, but we can't, everyone can't do it because people move freely today and we get the best information and knowledge that we can from wherever. So asking questions gets that, and that's how we all learn. Councillor Latham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just following on from Councillor Mackay, I was going to ask, had any of our officers gone and had a look at the road? And I suspect from the discussion we've just had, they haven't. Did anybody actually go and have a look at Ross Road in Ruapuna or Mill Road in Legmore?
Through the chair, no, in this instance, no, because it was a purely technical decision.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Question I've got, I lived on Carter's Terrace for 25 years. How many mistakes have been made with, with postal services or accidents in this district? I lived 25 years on Carter's Terrace. I had one parcel dropped off at my place in 25 years, so it had to be on Carter's Road. So to me it's a small item, but is there any problems with it?
Through you, Mr Mayor, there certainly have been. I couldn't give you the figures. We'd have to ask the courier companies in New Zealand Post for that, but there are certainly areas we're aware of where there have been problems. One of them was a street off Cathwood Avenue. I think it's also called Cathwood, maybe Cathwood Close. We renumbered the whole lot because of the constant confusion and wrong mail being delivered to the wrong boxes, which was actually our fault because years ago when we allocated the street numbers, we did it incorrectly. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it was a higgledy-piggledy mess. We also have a number of people can't find 5 Bearing Square West, this building. It doesn't apparently show up on a lot of things that you search. So we've even had emergency services asking where it is.
Thank you.
Councillor Lovett, and we're sticking to questions.
I was just going to ask, is it all Mill Road, half Mill Road, or the piece that goes off on the bend into a property? Because we've had so much conflicting information, and that's what I'm just trying to work out, because I don't think we should be renaming the whole of Mill Road, but because, yeah, where does it sit? Just to clarify it.
It's a small portion of it, I understand.
Is it just that little piece that goes off on the bend?
No, it's a bit.
Or one's...
Councillor Wilson may be able to answer that as to where does it start. Oh, he's got it up there now.
That wee piece.
It's all clear where the Mill Road, it's not all of Mill Road, it's a portion of Mill Road.
Further down than that.
That's right. It's all Westerfield Road too.
Further down.
Councillor Wilson, could you...
It's further down. Bring the map up.
Could you point to it, Councillor?
We just had on the other one.
You said wee piece there.
That little piece.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah.
Right, all clear?
Yep, it's just below the level of school.
All right, Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, my question is how many rapid numbers are on either road?
Yeah, through the chair, I believe that's correct. Yes, there's none.
The answer is what?
None.
Okay, question time over. There's a recommendation in front of you. Oh, I had one question. Linns are involved in this as well. So if we make a recommendation and they don't like our recommendation, what happens?
I think, Mayor Brown, they're the highest authority, so if they did say they had a problem with it, we wouldn't be able to proceed unless you wanted to exercise some civil disobedience, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mackay.
I move, Mr Mayor, that the request to rename the roads is accepted.
Accepted or approved or accepted?
Approved.
Give a seconder for that.
I'll go with that.
Councillor Brown had his light on. Open for debate. Speak to the motion, Councillor McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering if LINs are the highest authority. I'm trying to work out where the Local Government Act 1974 fits in here, where it says the council shall have the power in respect of roads to do the following things. And J says to name, and in particular in this case, alter the name of any road. So yes, we have LINs, then we have the Local Government Act that we operate under. So I'm trying to determine whether LINs operates under an Act of Parliament. I guess they do, but at least we have evidence in the officer's report that there is an Act of Parliament, and the officer was very clear and suggested that we refer to that, and I thank the officer for that. One of the things in renaming the road is to take account of local identities. And in this case, we have representation from both the roads in question agreeing to the change. And in local government, I've found that if you have 100% support of the most affected parties, you're usually in business if you make the decision their way. That to me is local government to its fullest. Quite often we are faced with hard decisions where someone may disagree violently or disagree ordinary, and in this case we have everyone on side. I can understand why the one member of the Ross family would like the road changed to Ross Road down near Lagmore, because the whole family of Rosses in that area have been synonymous with that area, especially the Lagmore School. And also one of them has obtained national status and hasn't just lived off that, but has come back home to Mid-Canterbury and voluntarily coached even young boys and young girls in the sport of rugby. And quite often we see those people that achieve that high honour come home and not to put their work into the community. In this case, the gentleman has put that work into the community in more ways than one, and I think it's only right and proper that we accept this request, especially when both families from the different roads are in agreement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors.
Thank you, Councillor McCoy. Speakers for or against the motion, Councillor Latham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to support Councillor McKay in his motion and his comments. I actually went and had a look at both those roads over the weekend. One has 10 paddocks with no habitation. One has about 2 or 3. I note the officer's report, and I can understand the reason that they put in there, but I think in this case the effect is going to be so slight on the larger picture that we should agree with the applicant to change the name of the roads. Just as a matter of interest, the road that I used to live on when I was farming has had its name changed 4 times in my lifetime. So the effect of changing these names will be minimal, and I think it's a worthy move.
Councillor Brown.
I'm in favour of this proposal. It's a small wee item as far as I'm concerned.
Councillor Floon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Speaking in support of Councillor Mackay and against the recommendation of officers, one of the arguments put up by officers was access to...
Councillor Floon, there's only one recommendation on the table, and that is in support the closure.
Yeah.
There's no officer's recommendation on the table.
Okay, thank you for the correction. One of the arguments put up was there is confusion, particularly as far as emergency services is concerned, as there are no rapid numbers on either of these roads, and it has been pointed out by Councillor Letham, there is nothing really but farmland on these roads. So to me, there seems little point in having any opposition at all to the road name changes.
No further speakers for or against the motion. Right to reply? Oh, Councillor.
I just wanted to clarify, just with the intent of Councillor Mackay's motion, I will be adding the actual road names into the resolution. So if you'd like me to read that, because I think it needs to be made clear.
Thank you.
That council approves the request to rename the existing Ross Road as George Ross Road and a section of Mill Road as Ross Road.
That's the intention, that's the wish. Yeah, thank you. Councillor Mackay, right to reply?
My only right to reply is to thank the Secretariat for making the motion more complete. Thank you.
I'm going to put the motion. I'm in favour. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 7. Naming of road, Westview Drive. I think this one's a little bit more straightforward. Anything further to add to the report, Ian or Jane? No questions, councillors? Councillor Brown.
No questions, but I'm quite happy to move.
There doesn't appear to be any questions, so we'll take you as the mover.
Thank you.
The seconder is Councillor Cameron. Open for debate. There being none, I'll put the motion. I'm in favour. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 8. Ministry for the Environment submission. Mr. Guthrie, is it? Yeah. Tony, yeah. Oh, tag team. Anything further to add to the report?
No, thank you.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you for the report. The source water risk management areas. Was this the thing we were discussing in council the other day, where the area surrounding bores and surrounding water sources has to be pushed out? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And when I read in the report, it's normally 3 metres, and they're suggesting anywhere between 5 and 30 metres. Is that correct?
Well, there's a couple of items in there. They talk about a boundary where they were talking about a conflict between some of the freshwater requirements and this new legislation. And that they're talking about 3 metres versus 5 for that, and they're saying there's a question mark over the confusion. Specifically around boreheads, there's a discussion around whether it should be 5 or a larger diameter, and that was the one we talked about a few days ago.
Can I just carry on?
Yes.
So I don't know, through Mr. Mayor, I don't really understand. If you push it out to 5 metres and it's currently at 3 more metres and your borehead's above ground, how are you mitigating the risk by 2 metres? Like, I mean, how is that? How is that a benefit in this situation? I can't see how that's going to make a difference. 2 metres of flat, I can see if it's level. 2 metres, it just takes longer for the rain to get to, but they'll get there sooner or later.
Yeah, so just to be clear, in terms of groundwater bore, they're proposing a 5 metre, excluding certain activities in that zone. The greater protection you will get.
Well, which I presume is sort of common sense.
Yeah, so they've suggested that up to 30 metre radius could be required. But they're landing at 5.
Oh, okay, because that would be a tremendous cost, or a tremendous, also, activity would have to be.
Questions?
Oh, yeah, carrying on. Okay, question 18, point 18, please. Point 18, is this okay, Mr. Mayor?
If it's a question, it is.
It is a question. I thought nitrate contamination was managed by ECAN. Soil water things, Canterbury Water Management through
What's
the
the question?
CWME.
What's the question?
That is the question. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, so he can have responsibility to manage groundwater.
Yeah.
What this legislation does is it puts a better description of surface water sources to allow that management to occur. And it does that at a national level, but also it gives the water suppliers responsibilities around those same areas. So that's where the changes are. The concerns around the current NES is that there are rules for protecting the source, but at the moment they're quite unworkable by the local authorities, by the regional councils. So that's what they're trying to fix with this refresh.
Thank you. I'll come back with more.
Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, my question is, why not stick at the 3? To me, 30 was just ridiculous. And the question is, would have Havelock North had any trouble if they had a proper borehead? It wasn't the distance, it was a borehead, is that correct?
Well, there's a whole inquiry on some of the deficiencies of Havelock North, so I won't try and go into those. But in essence of where we're sitting currently with the NES, the primary figure you want to focus on, I suppose, for groundwater bores is 5 metres, and that's pretty much what we've been operating on for some time now. The question would be, if they wanted to lift that out to 30 metres, as they're suggesting was some of the science supported, that would be an imposition on those landowners or where they occur. And one of my points in the submission was that it puts greater tension between the water supplier and the landowner on which those sources exist.
Supplementary, they are talking about all bores used for drinking water, are they not? That will include the thousands and thousands, 70,000 private water bores throughout the whole of New Zealand, is that right?
Well, again, I don't know the numbers, but there's a large number of new water suppliers still to be identified and start being tracked by the legislation. They have a number of years before they register, and this only applies to registered water sources.
A supplementary, well, wouldn't all water that's used for domestic consumption have to be registered? Isn't that the way the legislation reads?
No, okay, so the Water Services Act defines what a water supply is, a water supplier, and that is for people that are supplying water beyond a single household. So it's a multi-household type setup.
The moving from 3 to 5 or to 30, it's only the area around where the activities are heavily restricted. That's all it.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about, the first level of protection.
Yeah.
After that, there's another zone they've identified. And for example, in the Ashburton, they're talking about an area which could extend up to 2 kilometres from the boreheads. And that would have another level of management. Obviously not quite so severe, but it's looked at and you identify the risks in that area. And then they go to a catchment level, which is an area beyond that.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Lovett?
I was asking the same what Stuart was. If they're going to start intruding on farms, this is going to be a huge impact to our district of what they could actually shut down farms on nitrates, couldn't they, with this legislation, and determine what we're growing on our farms around our wells. If we're only supplying from, even if it was only 3 or 4 people in a house.
It is quite clear that there's a desire to improve the sources that might be supplying water supplies. But equally, they've done, in the consultation document, they have done some case studies, if you like. They're worth reading, those case studies, because they are sort of trying to allay some of the fears that might exist in people's minds around the actual real impact on the ground. And there was a view that farming might not necessarily be impacted that greatly.
Because I'm just wondering, have they done any studies? Because most bores in Mid-Canterbury are probably down that 50, 60 metres, and in the last 20 years, every farmer has had to put up as requirement seal their bores and they're all above ground, whether that will play any weight in this game, because it could cripple the farming community.
Well, individual suppliers will have this responsibility to identify the risks to their supply. So a lot of those concerns will be identified, and there'll be discussions with the landowner that's around that source.
So this is not just Canterbury, this is New Zealand wide, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's right.
it's just looking like another compliance cost and everything else for the rural sector.
I have one question. It's on question 18, reply number 30. And it says it's a matter of public record, but Canterbury is a nitrate hotspot. Would it be more appropriate to have the words parts of Canterbury as a nitrate hotspot? Because not all of Canterbury is. Does this make sense?
Yes, no problem. We can make that amendment.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilson?
Yes, I was going to ask a question about the same reply. Nitrates don't happen down a bore that's not protected. Nitrates are already in the E. coli comes from unprotected bores. Nitrates are in an area. So, I mean, whether it's 3 metres, 5 metres, it's not going to make any difference to the nitrates. It's a district-wide thing. So I think we should differentiate between nitrates that are an area thing and nitrates are not unprotected bores.
Yeah, I think the reference to nitrates, or at least it could be any emerging contaminant. The issue that we have to be aware of is that because they're proposing 3 levels of protection zone, so you've got that small diameter protection zone, which is the level 1. That's where the strict controls are, and you know there might be some activities that are prohibitive in that zone. Then you get into catchment scale. You get into a larger area out, which is they're talking about that being defined by the pathway of contaminants over E. coli over 1 year, I think, 1 year travel time. So they're using that as a proxy to identify that area. Now that won't necessarily have prohibition, but it might have controls on activities in that area. And the issue there is that you have longer term impacts, likes of things that are happening on the surface that could be influencing that groundwater. And that's really what the reference to that is. We certainly don't want to make the water sources worse from what's happening on the surface.
Councillor Bryan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, really. You mentioned all drinking waters. So maybe it doesn't apply to our district, but the districts who are using rivers and lakes, how do they that? How do they, the 30 metres, the water is flowing?
Yeah, so there are different criteria for different types of sources in the NES. The only reason I've focused on groundwater is most of ours are groundwater.
But there are different...
Yeah, they have
also
different terminology and different descriptors to identify those areas.
Question time's over. Someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Cameron, Councillor Bryan, open for debate. Councillor Cameron, speak to the motion.
No, I have a...
Well, you are going to. You just started.
Okay. I actually supported the motion so I could get to comments. I have nothing to... I'll speak to the motion at the end of the discussion if I can.
We'll take a right of reply?
Take a right of reply, yep. Can I now make a comment?
No.
Oh.
You speak to the motion or have the right of reply? I have the right of reply. Speak to the motion and make your comment in that. Oh, Angus, just go off and Carolyn come back on. Carolyn, go on. There you go.
With regards to the heat pumps and
There's
things...
no questions. Question time's over.
I haven't... This is not a question.
We'll look at the chair then.
Oh. Can you please explain to me, through the chair?
You're debating the motion. Councillor Mackay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I'm actually in favour of this, and I believe we have to protect our drinking water. It's one of the reasons why I'm anti-stock water races. I started my life being bathed in stock water race water, and I drank from a rainwater tank that had to be cleaned out every year because it had so much bird dirt and muck and dead material in it that it wasn't funny. And then I was on well water later on in my life, and it was so dirty because it was a shallow first aquifer well, and then the Methven Springfield pipe water scheme come along, and glory be, we had beautiful water thanks to the Ashburton, the county council in those days. So most grateful for piped water. So the only worry I have about this is I think we should pass this, but I think the officer's done a very good job. The only worry going forward I have is that those stock water races with those boulder holes at the end of them and injecting all the nasties from the stock water race into the aquifers might actually catch up with us, and I hope it's sooner than later to protect the drinking water in the first and second aquifers of this district, especially from Winchmore line down. So I'm fully in support of.
Speakers for or against the motions? Councillor Wilson?
Yes, question 22 and comment 33.
We're past the question, Dom.
Yeah, it's not asking a question.
Right.
I'm just saying I think we should be a bit stronger on answer 33, because to inspect thousands and thousands of bores, and even going to the extent of putting CCTV cameras down, my goodness, because I mean, many of the bores and wells in this district are not new that are used for drinking water. I think it's going to be completely impractical.
Your recommendation is to?
Strengthen that.
Put your light on.
Strengthen 33 to say it is possible but impractical to inspect internal casings and confirm screening details. Who's going to do that? It's going to be an army of people having to do that.
Can we add that in, Tony? Something along those lines, that it's it would be a big job to, or do you want to delete that 33? Because it's our suggestion. It's our suggestion, isn't it?
Yes, what we could do is the sentence that currently reads is that it's possible, but at the end of that sentence we could say, but we are concerned this could be impractical on a large scale.
Right.
Would that
happy with that?
meet your needs?
Yep, thank you. Speakers for or against the motion?
Point of order.
Oh, what's the point of order?
The Speaker said that strengthens it. So if we're going to write something that could be impractical, does that not weaken it?
What would your suggestion be?
Well, I thought the officers got it right.
Mr. Mayor, I think there was general agreement with the words proposed by Tony, whether it was to strengthen or weaken. There was lots of nods. The beauty of the amendment might be in the eye of the beholder, but I think there was general agreement to those words being added.
Anyone disagree to those words being added? No. Add the words. Yep. And this will come across the Mayor's and the CE's desk, amended and signed, so we can.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, just check it then, but it will be done. Councillor Cameron, right to reply?
Thank you, yes. I think we need to preempt and put our perspective in with regards to the drinking water source situation. So I think this report is very good, and I think it's very reasonable. I think if you take an extreme view one way or the other, you sort of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit. So I think urge people to consider that and consider the reality of where we are when they vote.
Councillor Ronson, I've just taken the right to reply, which is the end of the discussion.
Oh, that's right. I was just going to comment that I thought
You can't now, though.
it was well written.
I'm going to put the motion. I'm in favour. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Next item, number 9. Canterbury Climate Change Risk Assessment, Technical Report and Summary Report. And we're just going to receive this report. Mel, anything further to add to your report?
Nothing further to add.
Council, any questions? you will have seen this, went through the mayoral forum and I emailed it. Yeah, I think it was a fuller report than this one. This is probably a summary, but there's lots of information in there. Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. A lot of it's kindergarten stuff, all the same, pictures and circles and not English words. And I mean, to me, when you look out the window and you lived in this area 70 years or plus, they say droughts and fires. I wish we had a bit of that. And wind, I wish we had a bit of that. Keeping records of climate for 50 years, to me, there is climate change, but to say some of these things...
There's a question amongst all that?
Yes. The question is, has the mayoral forum unanimously debated this and agreed with it?
Yes. Hamish?
Yes, they have.
Councillor Lovett, questions?
Yes, number 12, I was looking at climate change as widespread, rapid and intensifying. And you've got to, I'm a follow on from Councillor Wilson's, is it? Because climate's always changing and we live with it. But is it, a lot of it, people are building in the wrong places and it doesn't really address all those issues. I don't think it's intensifying. As if you've collected records over many years and look at astrology and everything else.
Your question, coming to a question.
Has this had, is it all just computer modelling what people think, or have they put in actual records and astrology into this as well?
So just to help that, this piece of work has been going on for 2.5 years. It's been conducted by Tonkin Taylor, and it has involved exhaustive scientific research and analysis. So the mayoral forum received this and accepted that the report was of value and have adopted it, have published it publicly, forms the basis of its Time for Change Canterbury campaign, which this council has signed up for. So this technical report is very hard from the point of view of officers to debate the merits of the technical report, because it's actually been prepared by scientists who've come to the conclusion that these are the things that they have found. So we're just receiving it as a technical report. Very hard for us to answer questions as to the scientists' methodology, the scientists' skills, the scientists' competence. I don't think we're in a position to enter a debate around the merits of the scientific competency of the authors personally. The mayoral forum has adopted it and simply distributed it for the council's presumable receipt.
It would be nice to know if they've balanced both aspects of it. And there was just another question on, they talk about through there about water and that, and nowhere in any studies on fresh water or climate change do you see anybody analysing water in their rivers with human pollution and what it's doing to our climate and stuff. It just seems to be pushed aside. And that's a big study that should be added in one of these somewhere.
Yeah, I can't comment on that last point.
I think it's New Zealand wide that the rivers of the big cities are polluted. They are included.
Yeah.
Councillor Cameron.
I recall the early days of this report being generated, and it was great to see the culmination of that. I don't think anybody can deny that the climate is changing. I think that is well and truly established, has been for a long time, and to discuss that around the table is a bit embarrassing. With regards to this, is there going to be like layers of this, like layers for the kids at school? Because the kids at school want to see activities with regards to climate change. Is there layers of this report that will go out to scientists and councils and the public and children and all the rest of it?
Thank you, through the chair. Presumably, yes, this is part of the information pack that ECAN are preparing under that website and that campaign called It's Time Canterbury to have that conversation. So this is just another suite of information that feeds into that for those conversations.
Councillor McMillan?
I just wanted to move the recommendation.
I've got one more question there.
Councillor Wilson was going to.
Yeah, my question is, who initiated it, who paid for it, and is it going to make any difference? Because government make decisions. Is it purely a read and wring your hands type of report?
Hamish?
I can do 2 out of 3. The Mayoral Forum requested it. The Mayoral Forum paid for it. And I don't know yet whether it will make a difference. I think it's a very valuable piece of information gathering, however, on a matter of significant importance to a great number of people. And part of the debate around, I'll put it another way, we're very conscious of a range of views on the matter, but it is one of the highest priority issues for the community across the world, and this is simply information that adds to the database of scientific evidence.
Councillor Brown?
I was going to second the recommendation.
We haven't had a mover yet. Councillor Falloon's on.
I will move.
Not yet. Questions there. We'll get the questions out of the way, then I'll call for a mover or a seconder. Councillor Mackay.
Mr Mayor, thank you. My question is in relation to page 40 of the agenda, urban centres. For all communities, risks from climate hazards generally include damage to infrastructure, flooding. Were the Ashburton stock banks to protect Ashburton town built for climate change or for protection, is my question. There may be a supplementary come out of the answer.
Protection, I think, in the day.
Well, if I could attempt to answer that, protection and resilience. The issue is what might be giving rise to the need for the protection. And if a changing climate gives rise to that need, then it's inextricably linked to the protections you might take. And we hear all the time in urban cities, and in fact even in our most recent flood, the size of the culvert, for example, might be insufficient to take the flood water. Well, what if the floods are going to be more severe in the future? Perhaps the size of the culvert needs to be bigger now. And so you've got to think about, one of the things that local government is doing right across the board is thinking about infrastructure being resilient to a changing climate. So what's causing the need for the protection is perhaps the question.
Supplementary, if I may, Mr Mayor?
Yep.
Thank you for the answer, Mr Chief Executive. Why then did, my second question is, why then and when the Canterbury Regional Council went to the people of Ashburton and said you need a stock bank based on historical flooding in the area and no mention of climate change, would you like to alter your answer, sir?
Well, no, I can't answer for ECAN, so I don't know why they asked a particular question of a particular group. But I don't
the people of Ashburton, sir.
Yes, indeed, but I don't know why ECAN asked a particular question. I can't put myself in their place, but I don't think that would change my general answer to your first question.
I wish I could answer the question and talk about the historic floods that have roared through Ashburton and taken bridges out on State Highway 1.
Ready for a mover?
Oh,
Councillor McMillan.
I will.
Second up, Councillor Brown. We'll speak to the motion. Really receiving that report? Yep.
I can speak to the motion. I think, climate change is a thing, whether people around the table have different views or not. Councillor Cameron and I have attended a couple of meetings with the other councillors of the Canterbury area, and I'm really pleased that the Mayoral Forum have gone ahead and got this report for us.
Thank you. Further discussion, debate? Councillor Falloon.
Yeah, just speaking in support of the recommendation, I note that all council is doing is just receiving the report. It is not our job to comment on the comments or anything like that, because basically the report is actually owned by the Canterbury Mayoral Forum.
Correct. I'll just make a comment that financially as a country, as a world, can we afford to do climate change mitigations? Don't know. Environmentally, can we not? It's an open-ended question. I'll put the motion. I'm in favour. All in favour, please say aye, that we received the report. Thank you. Item number 10, thank you, ladies. Ashton Beach Enhancement Project. Bert and Ian. Sarah.
He's not sitting.
Got the report in front of us. Any questions? Anything further to add, Sarah?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Through you, we'd just like to answer any questions that you have. This report has been a long time coming, and yeah, the situation and information that we've got and included in this report offers a variety of views, and we have put forward a recommendation based on Council's previous direction. Should that change based on the information we've provided, then clearly we'd work towards your direction.
Okay, thanks. Bert, you have a new staff member in the room with you today, new biodiversity officer. Would you just like to introduce him? Councillors won't have met Christian yet.
Just work your thing on.
Put your...
Yes, sure. Through the chair, he's going to be introduced later today, but his name is Christian Chuaka, Dr. Christian Chuaka. He's from Otago University, Dunedin. He's been doing his PhD down there for about 5 years. Comes to us with a lot of knowledge. His PhD focused on geckos in the Macraes area for Oceania gold. So quite a top breadth of experience in terms of geckos and skinks. So quite timely that he's here. And he's full-time, which is great.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson, a question?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Number 4, our survey doesn't say how many they got. Did they get 1, 5? That's a very common lizard grass skink. I mean, they've hibernated in our section within a couple of years from the raw. So, I mean, there's thousands and thousands. How many did they actually get? We spent a lot of money, but they didn't give us a number.
Through the chair, that's in the report provided by the fauna finders. They captured 81 skinks over a 4-day period in how many traps? I think there was about 100 traps.
I think there was less in the other area. There was 2 different numbers and the opposite way around what you would have wanted.
Yes, that's correct. We had hoped that the numbers would be higher in the proposed covenanted area than the motorbike park area, but actually the density in the proposed motorbike park area was higher, and I think that has to do with the terrain and the orientation towards the sun.
Councillor Mackay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is around on page 53, number 9. In September 2020, it was decided that the council funds up to a maximum of $27,000 for the biodiversity requirements of this project. So coming from that is the question, how much have we spent on this project, actually spent on this project to date?
Through the chair, that's covered in paragraph 37, which I can't find at the moment. But yes. Yeah, and so to date we've spent a combined total of $16,100 plus just on obtaining approvals, and I've itemised the costs below in the bullet points.
So that's paragraph 37? 38. Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
So,
Councillor Mackay's still on.
yeah, sorry, on page 55, well, I've got my sound there. Page 55, there's a dot point about the middle dot point. While local iwi have been kept abreast of the project, there is a risk they may not support the application and ultimately is still declined by the Department of Conservation. Do we know the reason why local iwi would not support the application?
Through the chair, this is the first application I've been involved in, so no, I don't know the reasons for or against supporting an application to DOC from iwi.
Councillor Cameron.
That was a good segue, thank you, Angus. Have we gone to iwi prior to spending the dollars? We haven't gone to iwi. Oh, we have. Can you?
Yes, through the chair, we've continuously kept iwi involved, up to date with this project, advising them or keeping them up to speed with what's going on is different to actually getting their approval to a wildlife authority application. So once they have that application in front of them, that's when they make their final decision. So all we can do at this point is we've been keeping them abreast of what's been going on.
Okay, that's, yeah, okay. And my last question and second question is, we have an expert on skinks and those things in the room. What are the chances of them staying in their department if we move them or when we move them? Or they run back to their motorbike area?
We're going to put little signs up across the road.
Sorry, through the chair, are we talking about relocation of skinks?
Yes, yeah.
We, following specialist advice, we've moved away from the relocation of skinks as a mitigation measure. It's quite problematic in that how long do you keep going relocating them back out of that area unless you put in a fence, and that's got significant costs. And then there's issues with putting skinks in another habitat that already has skinks. So yeah, we've shied away from that.
Councillor Flood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First question is has this plan been discussed with the motorbike people, and what are their thoughts on it?
Sure.
Through the chair, absolutely. We've been working closely with them since the formation of the idea, following consultation where it was first initiated. They are really willing and are wanting us to keep moving as fast as we can. We've kept them informed about the processes that we have to undertake, still the unknowns that are ahead of us should this decision be passed. They have the grant money, they have some eager, willing and keen people to start the work and to have a secondary cove sort of community council facility down there to ride motorbikes. But they know they can't do that without the final ticks and by multiple people, including council as well as DOC. So yes, willing and keen to be part of it.
Second question is, with the new covenanted area on the riverside of the Donga, how are we going to stop the motorcyclists getting into that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the covenanted area, which is on page 54, that is already fenced. We've already done the fencing around the orange bit and that green bit that's proposed. That's already been done as part of the safety mitigations which started this whole project right back at the start. So there's no one riding currently on the orange or the green bit immediate to its lead to its right, and likewise the blue bit, which is the proposed motorbike park, that's currently an area of ocean farmland, and there should also not be anyone riding in that area currently.
Were lizards found on the left-hand side of Lower Beach Road there in the area which is now going to be covenanted?
Yes.
Yes. That was one of the sites that was surveyed by our fauna finders experts.
So we don't have to put in a lizard underpass?
Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I see we've set aside 22,500 for habitat construction. I guess we won't need that with the numbers that have been found.
That's correct. That original cost with Habitat Construction also included some relocation costs, which we're not going to go through or implement. So hopefully that cost will be lower than what's anticipated in the report.
Councillor Lovett.
I'm just going to ask the motorbike track and park, and will that be very similar to the one they've got on the other side of the river, all nicely planted out and just driving on a particular route?
Yes, well, I can confirm about the route. They have mapped out a track on the terrain to give us an indication of where and the distances in terms of the track. I'm not sure about the planting as of yet. There are some areas that we want to retain because of the different species in there, and they've ensured that the track is not around those areas. So we hope and would continue working with them to ensure that it was, you know, the best environment we could possibly achieve. But there is motorbikes, and skinks don't have too much chance when they're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Okay.
Have you shown us a map of the motorbike park? I think earlier, when we have done a site visit as well, but it might have been previous council.
Yes, we have done a site visit, and clearly can provide any information following this at any stage. But the next step is this wildlife permit to see whether or not we can proceed as intended.
Yep, Councillor Wilson.
I've got two questions. First one, cynical. Are we going to be able to start a wee zoo down there if we get a wildlife authority permit? My second and more serious one is, you know, this project started with with people wanting to shift the motorbikes down there. That was what I recall last term of council. This is where this all started from. But has any thought been given to, due to all the dramas that have arisen, does council have another piece of land somewhere else that would be less hassle and much easier to set up a new motorbike park, even if it's not down there? But you know, with all the bits of land we own, I've often wondered as we went on this journey, and we seem to meet obstacle after obstacle, have we got another piece of land that would be enabled to be used in lieu of this?
Through the chair, no, we don't. We haven't identified any. What we're trying to address here is there are some existing riders down in Ashburton Beach riding around still on the flats, etc., along the beach. So we're trying to provide a facility for them, as well as something that's in close proximity to Ashburton, as well as something that has undulating terrain. And that's the uniqueness about this site, is it gives them the varied and unique undulating terrain.
Councillor McMillan.
Thank you, through the chair. There was quite a bit of vandalism down there when we first sort of started this project. Has that subsided, or is that still happening?
Through the chair, that's subsided. We had about 2 or 3 incidences of fences getting cut or pushed over. We fixed them immediately, and that has since subsided, so we haven't had any vandalism down there for probably a year or two now.
Oh, that's good.
Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. What's the difference between the green and the orange? They said they're both covenanted area. Why different colours? Why is it not all one?
Well, through the chair, if you support the recommendation, it will become one. It will be one covenant area. The reason we initially only the green areas were suggested as covenanting areas because they're north facing and they're more likely to have a better lizard habitat. The orange area is south facing, but it just seems logical to extend the covenant area to include both 2 green areas and the orange area.
And further to that, that area is already fenced off, so it made sense to make it one area that we could enhance the environment, whether it's by planting different tussocks or to make it a bigger area of significance, as opposed to 2 strips separately and then having to fence in the middle.
And a supplementary, is there access from the blue to the tracks out to the right? I mean, what's the sense in having it if it's landlocked?
There will be. So the intention is, I should have a pointer, but at the very top left of the green portion next to the blue would be where the entrance is. So we envisage people parking down on the flat, potentially more junior kids riding around that area, but then having the entranceway into the blue area from that same base.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bert, we started this journey with a reason. You know, we had motorbikes there, we've got wildlife there, we've got a beach there, and it was just getting mingled up completely. So now we get this far, we've got a motorbike track, we've got, you know, the safe areas for the lizards, but then just reading it, it still can be declined by the Department of Conservation, I should say. If they decline it, we go back to what we had before. Is that correct? Nothing protected.
Not quite. What if they decline it? We can't go ahead with a motorbike park in that site. We can still protect the other values in that area by doing weed control, planting, etc. So if they decline it, it's simply that we can't build a motorbike in that park, motorbike park in that area.
Councillor,
sorry, yeah.
Reliefum?
Do you want to ask another question?
Yeah, just one question. As well. Okay, so we do the planting, but how do we stop the motorbikes? They will be back where they were before. So we're going backwards.
Yeah, through the chair. Yes, I guess we've got the status quo then of motorcyclists riding down there on areas that aren't fenced and continuing that activity.
Thank you.
Councillor Reliefum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What work is being done on that orange area at the moment? I noticed yesterday there was a contractor of some sort with a knapsack sprayer walking around there. Couldn't actually see what he was spraying, but he was working very hard, if that helps you.
That's a contractor who's being commissioned by Open Spaces to do control on the gorse in that area. It was getting away.
Gorse, yeah, okay.
Quite substantial gorse.
Councillor Fluent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems that we're going to come in, as far as the cost of all this is concerned, within existing budgets. My question is ongoing, are we likely to have any kind of ongoing costs apart from maybe repairs and maintenance to the fence, but will there be any ongoing costs in having a wildlife authority?
Through the chair, there may be. They may put conditions on the authority around monitoring, and yeah, if they do, then monitoring skink numbers, then I think it would be quite a good idea to actually involve the schools in that as a science topic and get them involved as well. But like what we did at Wakanui Beach.
Councillor Brown, last question.
No question, to be honest. I'm quite happy to move the motion of the recommendation as it stands.
Councillor Lovett.
Page 51.
Further debate, discussion, speak to the motion.
Yes, I'd like to speak to the motion. Like I said before, we started the journey. Stopping now halfway through is completely and utterly dumb, in my view. I think we're working hard to achieve something what is not been tried anywhere else, I think, in New Zealand, because you're going to mix different groups, and I mean completely different groups close together. I'll have to see the end result and hopefully see it as a success.
Further speakers for or against? Councillor Lovett.
I just say I'm totally for it because I think it's a great opportunity to tidy that beach up and have something exciting and vibrant going on, and getting the motorbike park people involved with it and planting and be the custodians of a particular area down there. And you've got Doc working away, and we've got Ekan down there with walking tracks, and give it 10 years and it could be a great place for people to go and visit and sit there and watch all the bird life and stuff. And I think we're at the start of this journey, and if we don't start it now, I think we'll lose this opportunity, the way rules and regulations are going. So actually it's my local beach, and I'm actually quite excited that, you know, we've started this journey, and yeah, it's a good process.
I'll go put the motion. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Item number 11, Mayor's report. Busy old February, half of it. Any questions of the Mayor's report? Councillor Wilson. Oh, there is Councillor Macmillan.
Thank you. Not a question, but just a thank you to you and the rest of the Mayoral Forum for going to the Canterbury District Health Board and getting the numbers for the our district, well, all districts, I suppose, within Canterbury District Health Board area. I think people appreciate it. Seeing lots of comments on social media saying that, you know, now they know what's happening. There are a lot of rumours going around, so thank you very much for that.
It's okay. We would plugged away at it. We tried when it first came out, or COVID, when it first got here, and they wouldn't give us the numbers of individuals. But this time they've listened and a lot of pressure. They have dished out the numbers, and you get the numbers for the whole of Canterbury. So, for one thing, what we're doing is we're beating Selwyn District. For the right or the wrong reasons, but at this stage that may change as time goes on, because we're only just starting to ramp up for the COVID. So yeah, and you'll see also I've put in there a phone number if people need support. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week health line number. People, if they need support isolating at home. Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. How did your visit go with Joe Luxton at the incinerator in our district?
Yep, it was a good visit. Mr. Donaldson spelled out what was wrong with the Act, and she was going back to talk to the Minister of Environment and the Minister of Energy on it. She could see firsthand what was happening and sometimes how stupid some rules can be, but she was going to take that information back to those ministers. Councillor Mackay.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just to follow up, from the Deputy Mayor. When those COVID numbers come through, are they based on the people living in this district, or are they based on the date of birth of people in this district?
I'll defer to the Chief Executive.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they're based on the postal address given by the person when they test negative or positive or whatever. When they record a COVID result, they give an address. If that's in the Ashburton District, it's recorded as an Ashburton District case.
One piece of information which we're not getting yet, but I think we should probably have, and there probably is the number 0 at the moment, is how many people are being hospitalised from COVID. So at this stage we don't think there's any in the South Island or in the Canterbury area, but that'll probably be a piece of information that will come out shortly, I would think. Yeah,
through Mr. Mayor, there was an email from the CDHB, I think this morning, confirming that they're going to, they being the health system, are going to start referring to hospitalisations as a much more important number than cases. But I imagine that will initially be at a New Zealand or a CDHB level, and we'll have exactly the same discussions that have been going on for 2 years to get council level data before, you know, it won't be an automatic given that even when they're focusing on hospitalisation numbers that'll be available at territorial level. So we'll have to be vigilant and prosecute that argument as hard as we can.
Well, it comes out now at a national level, and you see on the news you watch at night, it does say how many in Auckland and Middlemore and whatever, so it's happening up there. Again, I'll be pushing the question, why can it not happen here if we don't get that information?
Yeah.
But Ashburton Hospital is not a, if you're seriously injured, seriously ill, you'll be going to Christchurch Hospital, not Ashburton Hospital, which is serious.
Which is why I think they'll do it at the CDHB level as opposed to territorial authority level.
Yeah. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It would be interesting, well, pardon me, I would be interested to know if those that are hospitalised have been vaccinated or unvaccinated. That may be information they're not prepared to disclose, but it would certainly be interesting from my point of view, seeing we've all gone to the trouble of doing the right thing.
I think nationwide that information is available. I'm not sure whether it's Canterbury-wide, but Hamish?
Again, I think I saw some data maybe earlier this week, at the end of last week, that unvaccinated people are 4 times overrepresented in hospitalisation numbers proportionately for who has and hasn't been vaccinated. So you've presumably reduced your chances of hospitalisation by 3/4 if you have been vaccinated and boosted.
Any further questions? Councillor Wilson?
I just thought I'd ask a question about the availability of the rapid tests, and maybe Councillor Cameron has the answer, but just a chatter in the community, a lot of people are confused about where they can go, and that, you know, Bloomfield said on tally, yes, you can buy them anywhere, but obviously you can't yet because people said they can't get them. So I just wondered what the availability is.
Councillor Cameron, do you have an answer to that, or shall we find that out if you don't know?
The tests are available to be purchased as of the 1st of March. I think the supermarkets and things are not going to have them until next week. And I think they can buy them online from various outlets at the moment. As I understand it, they are giving them out down at South Street, and you can get a RAT test from your doctor if you are symptomatic, but not if you have no symptoms. Yeah.
Just a subtlety, as I understand it, the testing site at South Street is largely only handing them out if you have symptoms and qualify. So you can't just queue up and get a supply. You have to be in that queue and in that system because you have symptoms and need a test. So if you want some up your sleeve, South Street's not the place to get them.
The other interesting statistic is the big portion of the population who is getting the COVID is the 15 to 25-year-olds. Don't know the reason, but they are statistically very high. Liz?
Thank you. Any more come of the meeting with Tony Todd for Trot's Nursery?
Yes, we've had the meeting and gave them the news that we won't be supporting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Their application, yeah. Someone like to move? I'll move the receive the Mayor's report. Second, Councillor Cameron. Put the motion, all in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Next item of business is welcome to new and long-serving staff. Sarah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to introduce you to 2 new staff members, one who you have just recently met slightly earlier. So if you can just please wave to the council, that'd be fantastic. So we've got Christian Chukwaka, and he is our ecologist / biodiversity officer. Christian is based down in the open spaces team. We'll work alongside Bert Hoffman, Ian Soper, and also Steve Fabish. So it's Christian. We've also got Zani van der Haven, and she is our development engineer. So Zani is there, and she works within the assets team with Andy Guthrie and also Neil McCann. So yeah, a fantastic addition to our team, and we're really looking forward to both of them being into the mix. I'd also like to introduce and acknowledge 2 employees who have recently hit some significant service milestones, and I'll just ask them to come forward to get their little gift and meet with Hamish and the Mayor in due course. So apologies for my back being to you. So first of all, we've got Paul Sterling. Paul started at council on the 7th of February in 2012, so he has just hit his 10-year anniversary. And after a stint as a help desk officer, Paul moved into the infrastructure side of IT and has progressed up to be our systems team lead in 2019. Through this time, he's developed an understanding and an application of our network, servers, desktop, cloud and security environments, and have allowed for a strong foundation that supports other IS activities and all the services that lever from it. So a very key member. He's got 2 staff reporting to him, of which Jess and Casey you will know probably with regards to the interactions you have with them from time to time with their tablets. So yeah, look, thank you very much for your time, Paul, in terms of 10 years, and long may it continue. And secondly, I'd like to introduce Brian Kerr. Brian started as a systems officer in 2007, so he has hit his 15-year milestone. Initially, he was appointed as our council LIMS officer before he joined the IS team, and he was our first dedicated business analyst in September 2007. He subsequently worked in a large proportion of council activities and teams, working with individuals to identify improvements to their systems, and then working with other members of the IS team to turn these ideas into reality. So from CRMs to Stockwater, Brian has built up an extensive knowledge of the processes and their touch points across other processes to support better service delivery and usability within council. So thank you very much for your commitment, Brian.
All good, thanks. Yeah. So thanks Brian and Paul for your contribution over the years. It shows you how you can probably not start at the bottom but sort of work your way through this organisation to where your niche is, and it's really good. And Kristen and Darnie, welcome to the board, and hope you have a long and productive and enjoyable time at the council. I think, councillors, that takes us to the end of the open part of the meeting. So we're going to break and have a cup of tea. More than welcome to join us, team, for a cup of tea. And we'll start back here at 3 o'clock. We're back here about 3 o'clock. We can move into committee now. Go move for that.
I'll move.
Councillor McMillan, Councillor Wilson, second. All in favour, please say aye. Carried. Thank you. So